going to be creating your water label designs in Illustrator, and I've created a template file for you. And when you open it up, you're just going to see two white squares, and those are actually artboards. And one of the first things you might want to do is select the artboard tool, which is right here. And when you click on it, you're going to see handles appear around one of the artboards. And you can use the artboard tool to resize an artboard in a document, but you can also, if you click in the middle, you can use it to move an artboard further away from the other one. And that's handy if you've got some elements that overlap or run off the edge of your current artboard and you don't want it appearing on your other design. So each of these squares represents a label design that you're going to create here in Illustrator. After we create our design in Illustrator, then we're going to bring it into Photoshop and use a Photoshop mockup file to place your design on two realistic looking water bottles. The next thing I want to show you is how to get your artwork from Illustrator into Photoshop using the template file. So I've prepared a very quick little label design, and it's exactly the same design, just with a different color scheme. A very common question when students are working in Illustrator is they want to know, well, how do I make this artboard a color? Well, remember that in Illustrator, you're always creating objects and shapes. And in order to create this blue square that fills up this artboard, I've actually just created a square by selecting the rectangle tool, clicking and dragging it to the correct size, and adding a fill color. And then you just want to make sure if there's elements that you want to have on top of this color. And I'm just going to resize this quickly so it fills up the entire artboard. That I need to move this big shape behind the other shapes. So I can go to Object, Arrange, and I'm going to select Send to Back. And I'm going to remind you that your design should be completely different. I'm just doing this to expedite the demonstration process. So once you have your two designs finalized, you're happy with them, you're just going to save your Illustrator file, and really you could quit Illustrator right now, or you might want to keep it open in case once you have it on the mockup you decide there's a change you want to make. So I'm going to hide Illustrator to get that out of the way. And then we're looking at that Photoshop mockup file opened in Photoshop. I'm going to go to Window, Workspace, ensure that Essentials is selected, and if it is, I'm just going to select Reset Essentials. So we're all starting off at the same place, and any of these open panels that I don't need to see, I'm going to minimize by clicking this Collapse button. So here's my water bottle mockup, and I'm just going to do one of the labels because I think once you see me do one, you'll know exactly what to do to create the others. So you'll notice that I've got two different mockups, and here in the layer palette, and I'll just expand that out, we've got bottle version 1 and bottle version 2. So we'll start with bottle version 1, and I'm just going to twirl open that layer group. We'll talk about changing the cap color in a moment. So we're going to find the layer within that layer group that says Your Image here, and you just double click on it. And it opens up into its own little Photoshop tab. And then we're just going to go to File, and we're going to select Place Embedded. And I'm going to navigate to my desktop. And then I'm going to navigate to where I have my Illustrator file with my designs on it saved. So I found my AI file, and my file is called Water Bottle Labels Template Example. Yours is probably just still called Water Bottle Labels Template. And click Place. And there's a second little dialog box that opens up, and because I have two artboards in my Illustrator file, Photoshop knows that, so I select the artboard that contains my first design. I want to crop to bounding box, and what that ensures is that anything outside of that artboard in Illustrator doesn't show up when you import it into Photoshop. So I've selected my first design. I'm going to click OK. And when you first place a file into Photoshop, you have the opportunity to resize it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, without holding my Shift key, is I'm just going to scale up my design. so that it fills up that entire area. I'm going to press Enter to enter in that change, and then I'm going to press Command S to save. And now if I go back to my Photoshop mockup, you can see that my design is now on the water bottle. Now at this point, you might decide you want to make your design a little larger, so it's a little more prominent on the bottle. So you can always go back to that layer, double click on it, Command T to transform, and very easily scale it up. Press Enter to enter in that change, save again, and then back to the water bottle Photoshop mockup, and now you can see the design is now larger. And now we're going to change the cap color, and it kind of makes sense to have that color match one of the colors in your design. So in this case, it could be the blue or could be the orange. So if I take a look at my layer group for bottle 1, there's light effects, leave those alone, don't touch anything. Go right to change cap color, and I'm going to double click. And when I do that, it opens up the color picker, and I could sit here and play with the sliders and change the color, and you can see it dynamically updating in the window beside there. But if I want a color to match something that's on my label already, I just need to move my cursor over my label and click. So it samples the color that I click on, and now that cap matches the label perfectly. I could also try the blue. I click OK, I save, then I would repeat the process for the second bottle design. Locating your image here, double clicking, placing, changing the cap color, saving, and at the end you'll save this out as a JPEG file and hand it in. That's it.